episode 321 of Retro Encounter, the RPGFan weekly podcast of many topics, and it's finally time, everyone. It's finally time, after years and years of joking and messing around and playing and talking about it. We are finally doing Skies of Arcadia on Retro Encounter. We're going to be doing this for the next 2 weeks. It won the episode 300 poll back last summer 2021. If you can remember that far back, by a landslide, because of course it did. Of course it did. I felt a bit mean bringing it on, but it was about time we talked about it, and I was never going to get it on because we'll get into Sega history and stuff like that. But I have three wonderful people joining me for this episode. I have Audra Bowling.
Hello.
Wes Iliff.
Hey, everybody.
And Zach Wilkerson.
Wait, I'm confused. Are you excited?
No. Why would I be excited? It's really... I mean, everybody knows. It's kind of a bit of a joke, really. Like, everybody knows I love this game, and I bring it up regularly, both on the site and off the site. Yeah, I mean, I'll go into specifics in a bit, but really, like, I grew up with Sega systems as a kid, so, like, the Dreamcast was one of the first games consoles I really... Not the first I ever had, but it was one of the first ones I had, so I was always really happy, like, that I got a chance to play it pretty early on, because we know now, and the big joke about it is look how expensive it is on GameCube, and it's, like, ridiculous, but fortunately, all four of us have got a way to play it. I think we're all playing the Legends version, is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Sure is.
I am indeed.
Perfect. Yep. So the Legends version really just adds a couple of pretty big side quests on top of the original. The Dreamcast version had some exclusive mini games on the VMU with one of your crewmates that you get later on, and also allows you to get some extra items, but the GameCube version adds bounties, and it adds some extra discoveries and an entire secret boss, which we'll probably touch on more next episode because we've got quite a lot to go through in this first half. We're basically going to span from the beginning, the whole time you've got the little Jack to the Claudia, so 3 different ships basically. But yeah, I wanted to ask first of all, like, I don't think we're all first timers, are we? So I know, Wes, from a Rhythm Encounter we were on last year, I believe you've played this before at least. How did you get into Skies or Sega in general for RPGs?
So I'd been a Sega lifer ever since the Genesis. My brother bought an SNES, so I got a Genesis, played Phantasy Star 4 and Shining Force and all those. So when Dreamcast came out, snapped that one up too. And it was the reason that I actually picked this up is because it came out on the same day as Grandia 2, in America at least. And I picked them both up because I was excited for the sequel to Grandia after having played that on PS1. And I actually started playing Grandia 2 first. I was split on which one to start. So I played that, loved it, going all the way through, and then I just got this wild hair. Let's see what this other one's like. Just a few days later, popped it in. It didn't leave my Dreamcast for months after that point. Just became quickly one of my favorite RPGs of all time. But I was past due for a replay, so this was a perfect excuse to kind of dive back in with more adult eyes.
Yeah, pretty much in the same boat there as you. Zach, what about you with Sega? Because we haven't covered tons of Sega on the podcast, so I don't really know how much you've experienced Sega RPGs and Skies in general, I guess.
Sky, I mean, I didn't, my stepbrother owned Genesis for a little while while I was growing up, but like he didn't play RPGs. I owned a Dreamcast, so I have no excuse for not having played Skies of Arcadia until now. I also owned a GameCube, and I still hadn't played it until now. But I bought a copy of Skies of Arcadia, and like in the first town, I got like lost, and I don't know, I just fell off of it, and then it just never happened. And so obviously I've been hearing you talk about this game since well before I joined the site, and obviously I've heard talk about it a lot since I've joined the site, and now this is my first time through. So yeah.
Awesome. And Audra, what about you? What about Sega history and Skies?
Well, I did have a Genesis for a little while, actually around the time Dreamcast came out. It was a hand-me-down from a cousin. But I didn't play RPGs really on it. And my first RPG was actually Final Fantasy VII, probably on the PlayStation. And I didn't get a GameCube, so It wasn't until actually everyone on RPGFan was talking about Skies of Arcadia, and especially you about how much you loved it, that I was curious enough to borrow a copy from Sollosi,
Ooh.
actually.
Oh
was very
yes,
nice
I
of him.
remember. Yeah, I remember him doing that. Yes. Yeah, very generous of him because yeah, the GameCube version goes I think $300 pretty regularly. I know where I live, I've seen it for about 250
Yeah, it's
pounds.
pretty pricey.
Yeah, so we're pretty lucky we all have a way of getting it. For me, I guess I don't know whether I need to go into this, but I will anyway. Yeah, I pretty much played it as soon as it came out. Again, like the Mega Drive, that's going to be fun to get mixed up with Genesis as always. That was the very first console I really had. But again, like you all, I didn't really play RPGs on it, which is kind of ridiculous because we didn't get any Super Nintendo RPGs, but we got literally every single Sega Genesis Master Mega Drive RPG, like Phantasy Star, Shining Force, all of that, and I didn't touch any of them. And Skies and Grandia 2 were the first two Sega RPGs I really played. And I remember walking in on my mum playing Skies of Arcadia as a kid, and I was like, oh, this looks very different to anything else I've ever seen. And within months, I was playing it. And over the last 21 years, I've played it 10 times. So this is an 11th playthrough, roughly.
Oh, wow.
I'm not as far as anyone else though, because I cheated for the first half. I watched somebody else here play most of it, and my memory of it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm just really excited to get further into it and talk about it because this is the first time I've replayed it in 6 years, I want to say. 2016 seems right. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how my opinions have shifted as I've shifted over the last 6 years. But yeah, we're going to dive right in and just kind of take things beat by beat, I think. So really, Skies opens with a bit of a bang. It doesn't really wait to throw you into the deep end, and it throws you straight into a dungeon right away. And the very first section of the game is on one of the Valoran Armada ships with one of the admirals, Alfonso. But from here all the way to Sailor's Island, what were people's first impressions? Whether this is your like first time through, or whether if you remember how you felt the first time you played it?
Well, I thought it actually, the opening was pretty grand and epic. It really kind of sucks you in.
It does, yeah, because it throws you like Fina right out there, doesn't it? Yeah.
Hmm. So I was very much intrigued by the opening.
I think it does a good job of setting up the Blue Rogues in general as this like Robin Hood-esque group of people. But yeah, it's not slow. It slows down a little bit when you get to Shrine Island, but yeah, for sure. I think the opening kind of hits you with a bang.
I think maybe one of my favorite things about it is how quickly you realize that the boss music is dynamic because you're likely to take a couple of big hits from that first boss, and oh, that's such a satisfying feeling when you like get the boss down low enough, you kick off a heal, and the super heroic music starts booming, and you're like, oh, I'm feeling this right now.
Right? I can't think of an earlier example of dynamic music in an RPG. I'm sure someone will have an example, or someone listening will email and shout at me about it, but this is like the first game I remember playing where the music changes depending on the battle situation, or when you're on the world map, obviously, like the ship music changes depending on what moon you're under. But yeah, it's really unique. Not many games do it. Like Nier does it, obviously.
No, I'm not going to remember any of them, but I totally know there's a few.
There are tons of them. Yeah. Zach, haven't heard from you yet. What about the opening? And
I mean, I think that it is compelling from the jump, and yeah, I mean, like I think I can't think of anything before Skies of Arcadia that does dynamic battle music, and actually, I think it's pretty likely that there wasn't anything prior to this that did it. So yeah, I mean, I think that I like that the very first boss. We'll talk about this. Like the thing I like about this game the most is the combat. And I think that the fact that you're gonna hear that dynamic music with some regularity, because the game's not like incredibly hard or anything, but like it can push you at times, and I like that that it pushes you early on.
yeah, it's not too hard. I think if you know what you're doing, for sure. I know the first couple of times I played it, I struggled on certain things, but yeah, I think this does a really good job of like kicking you off, like kickstarting and getting you going. But basically what's happening in this opening, so I kind of just jumped into it without like explaining it, is that there's this girl, Fina, who's running away from the Armada, and they capture her, and then the Blue Rogues, headed by Vice and Ica and their father Dine on the Albatross, they plunder Valoran's ships for goods to give to the people they live with or share with anyone. So, like I said, Robin Hood is basically what they are. It's just a big group of Robin Hood people with too much idealism for their own good sometimes. But they essentially go on here, find this girl, and because they're do-gooders, they have to rescue her, and they do that. And Skies is not big on plot. It's very much it's very classic in terms of like, save the girl, go look at the crystals and things like that, which I'll get into. That's kind of the bulk of the game. It's not for a while you find out that Fina is actually on a mission to collect these things called moon crystals, which are hidden across many of the kingdoms across the world of Arcadia. But it certainly sets the tone for these characters. And I think Vice and Ica and Fina are a really good trio. And funny that it comes out the same time as Grandia, because it does the Grandia party system thing where you've got like 2 or 3 constant members, and then the last one swaps out every so often, which I think is cool because it gives everyone a bit of a action. But
yeah, I mean, in the game, like, looks like Grandia too, which it makes sense, like that it looks like Grandia too. But like the visual style is so striking on that front, and Ica's amazing. Can we spend like a moment just to talk about how incredible Ica is in this game?
oh,
Because she's
great.
incredible.
I was hoping we could all agree on this.
Oh, I love
Oh,
Ica.
we can, yeah. She's got big boomerang. I love her outfit. I love everything about her. She's like peppy. She's just enthusiastic. She likes money and everything. She doesn't care. She likes money. She's got all these like theories about different places, which stereotypical, but yeah, like she's just a bundle of joy, I think, and just always excitable.
Yeah, I mean, I think that she like her like love of money is not even really about like money, obviously. I mean,
No.
it's about like the joy of adventure. And I think that I like that she calls Vice, and we'll talk about this. I have some criticisms of Vice later, but like, I think that of all the characters where like the expressiveness of the faces is like so cool in this game. Ica is the one where like with those big eyes that she gets sometimes is the thing that I think is most entertaining about her.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all adds to like there's almost a storybook kind of fairy tale aesthetic to this whole thing, where because it's not quite so like plot heavy, but it still has those really strong characters throughout, and little relatively simple morality tales throughout the whole thing. That feeds into the idea of like blue rogues, the idea of there being good pirates versus bad pirates. It feeds into the most of the cast being very wide-eyed optimistic and not so world weary, and when they do run into someone who is, they tend to turn them over a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a perfect thing to hit the age that it hit me when I was preteen to teen. It hit that slice of optimism that I hadn't given up yet, which was fantastic, and it still brings it back a little bit each time I fire it up.
And it's interesting that you say that, because I think that one of the reasons that Skies of Arcadia did not hit for me when I was playing this was I picked it up like right around the time I was playing Grandia 2, partially because the reviews on RPGFan for both of these games were incredible. And Grandia 2 really hit for me. I'm like, Ryudio, like, I get you. Yes, you're my kind of guy. I was like past the moment of optimism in my life, unfortunately. And so like I think that coming back to it as an older person, and seeing some like echoes of Grandia 1, like Vice and Justin, I think have a lot in common, makes it resonate for me better than it maybe would have when I was, I don't know, 15, the first time I was trying to play this game. So yeah.
Yeah, I do like the sense of adventure that it kind of kindles in you. And just this hope, there's a little bit of hopefulness to it that I'm not sure if I would have gotten it when it first released if I'd played it, but I get it now and I really like it.
I think it stood out to me as a kid. It felt different. Like it certainly wasn't a surprise. It actually wasn't my favorite game for a while. But like, because I was like, I wanted more of a story about it. Like, I kind of got Final Fantasy IX's like morality thing a little bit better, and that had more of a serious angle to it, whereas this was just kind of like, oh, we're just going on an adventure kind of thing. And as like a kid, what was I, like 7 or 8 years old when this came out? Like, I don't know, like I loved it, but also was kind of just like, oh yeah, this is just light relief. And then like I kept coming back to it, and I couldn't really figure out why until like maybe I was in my late teens, maybe nearly 20, and was like, oh, you really like this for some, like, this is why you like it, because it gives you a little bit of something that you want and a little bit of something that you appreciate. And it's not really something I realized that I enjoyed a lot until I was slightly older and was like, oh yeah, you know what, you actually do like really positive things. You're not just miserable. You're not miserable preteen or post-teen anymore, or young adult or anything like that. Like, you actually like stuff like this. But yeah, it's interesting that everybody pointed that out, because I think it varies person to person. Just funny because like as a kid, you always just want to go on adventures and stuff like that. And like, I'm not sure how Grandia 1 would have hit as a kid either. And I guess on the same ilk, Lunar, I suppose, which I played Silver Star Story Complete last year, and that kind of has a similar like adventurous, like simple cartoony, I'd say cartoony feeling, but that's kind of what it is, isn't it? Like just like Saturday morning cartoon fun, going on adventures and stuff.
That sense of adventure is really heightened just because the sense of exploration in this game is like, I'm not sure any RPG has matched it. As much as I've played, the idea of like your main mode of transportation is airship. You're in this big open world. There are places you can't pass because your ship isn't good enough to navigate the horrible winds of this place or what have you. And you're constantly finding these discoveries, and if you find them quicker, you can make more money by being the first person in the world to discover some weird, rock formation or ancient ruins or something. All of it really makes that sense of adventure. Yeah, exactly. It makes you feel like an actual explorer and like you're on a proper adventure.
Yeah, like I think to jump into ships and access the world map, like I think, my god, this is, I mean, we'll talk about it more next week, especially because really like the really cool thing about the map is like you start off with such a tiny little part of it, which like you do with all RPGs, but because you're traversing the world on an airship and not just walking around a flat like pixelated island or series of islands, it's like you're genuinely like uncovering a lot of stuff. And the more and more you get, the bigger the map gets and the more uncovered it gets. Because I think generally, I'm certainly thinking of Final Fantasy 7 and 9, like you at least get like the main continent, don't you? But like with Skies, it's smudged out, and the further along you get across the map, the more of it you can see. So you can only see like the areas you've touched. But that would be a Steam achievement, wouldn't it? Go and fill in the entire map if they put it on.
Stop wishing for things, Alana.
I mean, like, Sega should get me to write all the achievements. It's fine. I'll make some real dastardly ones in there for sure. But like, yeah, I think that Arcadia as a world map, and again, as we see more and more of it, I think we'll dig into it, is just kind of amazing. Like, it just really, every inch of this game like drips in adventure and drips in nice piracy, which is not a thing. Like pirates, I love pirates. Pirates are bad, but fictional pirates are cool. Mostly, sometimes.
Yes, it's maybe a bit romanticized.
Yes, honorable thief is unfortunately my weakness and maybe my favorite trope or like character archetype. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that I think is impressive about this game too is that, like, sure, it's like playing with the same ideas of like, how do you make a game like this linear? Because like you're in an airship, and how do you deal with that? And the game is not, I mean, it's less linear than like most games would have been, especially like Final Fantasy X came out around the same time. You know what I mean? Like to get an interesting point of comparison. But the way they make the airship exploration feel satisfying and interesting, despite the intense encounter rate, even on GameCube.
Oh yes.
And the way that it still feels natural, like when you get to those rock formations, like, oh yeah, I can't pass that. And like when you can, it feels so good. Right. And so I think that it is remarkable that they don't make it feel super annoying that you can't really explore when you need to, and like they still give you enough. Like those discoveries Wes was talking about, I think are really cool. That's something that is built in, even though I somehow can't find any of them. But anyway, I think it's a cool thing.
I always get a little excited when I find one.
There are some really horrible ones. Again, we'll touch on that way more next week, because I think there's some really famous ones that are kind of like, there's moving discoveries. They're not all static. Some of them follow a path, and some of those paths stretch the entire width of the world. So it's kind of interesting. But yeah, I think, yeah, it's just brilliant. I think the reason I love this game so much mostly is because of the world map. The combat's brilliant, and I love other things. I feel like I'm like dashing ahead to like final thoughts already, but I guess I'm gonna have to rein myself in a little bit, because this is like turn number 11. But yeah, like, I think this is what makes the game special, and the fact that you can already feel that as you progress through so early on is great. But you did bring up encounter rate, and I think it's a good time to bring up encounter rate and maybe bounce between combat before we dive too much into the actual like point by point story. Yeah, the encounter rate's pretty bad, isn't it? I'd forgotten how bad it was even on GameCube.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yeah, it's probably my least favorite part of it.
It's most people's least favorite part of it. Like, they've made it better in dungeons, but left it the same in like air traversal or world map traversal.
Which is like the worst thing to do, because the air traversal is the fun part. I'm like,
Yeah.
why are you ruining my fun?
Exactly. There are ways around it later on in the second half of the game, when you like get even more expanded travel. But yeah, there are some particular areas, like the South Ocean, the path between Nasser and Ixataka, as you're going against the strong currents. And some of those enemies can cast instant death, and it's quite often once every 10 seconds you'll get attacked by a group of them. So it's like, oh boy. And I definitely used to wipe there all the time as a kid, so I used to get my mum to do it for me. There you go. That's me handing in my like little card when I was a kid. Just like, nope, never doing that. But
Alana's not a real gamer.
I'd never want to be a real
confirm.
gamer, thank you. But yeah, the combat is really pretty. I'd say it's pretty standard, but I think it does some really clever things. And actually, to like work off of something you were saying earlier about the expressiveness of the game, Zach, I think like another reason this game feels as good as it does is that it manages to channel like a lot of the, because I when I think of expressive like characters, I'm thinking of like the sprites from Final Fantasy VI, like when Gao or like some other character is surprised and their eyes like pop out and they like wiggle their hands and things like that, and you're like, oh, this is the mood. Because Sky's like, games were getting voice acting at this point, like Grandia 2 had full voice acting basically. Like, it had a pretty well-known cast of anime voice actors, and Final Fantasy X, which came out a year later, was also fully voiced. So it was becoming more common. And the Dreamcast was a pretty powerful console. Like, it was more powerful than the N64 and the PlayStation 1. And I think it might have been more powerful than the PS2 to a degree. So the fact that Skies doesn't have full voice acting, it just has these like little voice clips of people just going, ah, and stuff like that. It's like, it's quite fun. But I think the combat as well, like, really takes the essence of like turn-based RPGs and like really makes it more interesting, but it does it with a 3D space as well. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what people like about the combat so far in the first half of the game.
I mean, for me, the combat's the best part of the game. I love it. I love that. And I feel bad because like the last time I podcasted with Wes about one individual game, it was Nocturne, and I like the combat here so much better. Because it gives you the opportunity to, especially with like the optional fights, to like really engage in what the game has to offer you. I love that like you have the color matching, which is not something they ever explained to you, but luckily Alana explained it to me very effectively. And like the way that you have like multiple different meters and you're like managing different resources at different times. I do think that items are maybe a little too easy to get your hands on. And so like if they were harder, the game would be a little tougher, but like the turn-based element of it, I think is fantastic. I think that the challenge, if you know how to break it, you can break it. And I love that. But otherwise, like it all, like it's like a little bit Dragon Quest, a little bit. I don't know what other games, but like it feels good to engage with, and it feels honest to engage with, and I don't feel like it's ever cheap. But like I feel like it does have a degree of difficulty and mastery that is exactly what I want from turn-based combat. I just think it's excellent in this game.
Yes. The instant death enemies, I actually really studied up on my magic spells there,
Ooh,
which I quite had a fun time experimenting with what ended up working on them.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, because like the first couple of times I played the game, I didn't really utilize the magic very much because, like, super moves are the best thing. So, like, the multi-management thing that you were talking about, Zach, like, so every character's got an MP pool, for people who don't know. But you've also got like a shared SP bar or a spirit bar, spirit points bar, and spirit points are used to cast magic and super moves. But every spell in the game only costs 1 MP. But say you want to cast a cure spell, it'll cost 1 MP, but it'll cost 2 SP or 5 SP or something like that. So yeah, you have to like manage that. You're like, do I want to do Cutlass Fury next round, or do I want to cure up, put Incrum on, and then spend the next time like turn focusing with everybody or something like that? It does add a really interesting wrinkle, but yeah, like you can really break the game if you just use Incrum and a lot.
Or if you get a lot of moonberries early.
I can't believe how many moonberries you got in like one evening. I was like, just
Yeah, I
sitting
think I got like 4 from like random battles. It was amazing.
yeah.
You got all the best stuff.
Yeah. And that's really one of the easiest ways to break the game is like if you know how to distribute those moonberries, like you really just want to throw them onto Ica to start off with and then throw them all onto Vice, and then that's kind of it really. I would give Drachma, who we haven't talked about yet, but we will in a bit, some, because he gets a free spirit charge which costs no SP but gives you 10 SP, so it's pretty good.
Need to distribute some moonberries.
Always got a few sitting around.
Yeah.
I think this is going to sound shallow, but my favorite and least favorite parts of combat are all visual. Because like one of my favorite things, no matter how good that management is, which it is, as you said, how cool and flashy the super moves are, everything like that, nothing will compare to the fact that like your enemies and your party members mix it up when you're not controlling them. Like they're actually fighting each other, kind of swinging and blocking and keeping activity in the background.
Yeah, that's pretty fun.
It's something I hadn't seen in many games before. And then better still, there are multiple animations for each of your characters. So like they have a long range and a short range attack. So wherever they've just ambient moved, you'll get different attack animations based on, how close they are to the enemy. Are they going to run up, or, they're just going to throw out something from where they are? And Drachma's like grapple hook gauntlet punch is just phenomenal.
The noise
Drachma, best character, can confirm.
That's not what you said a minute ago, but like,
well, Ica's great too, but Drachma, I mean, come on.
But unfortunately, the visuals are also kind of the worst point for me because it has that color system where you change your weapons to match different colors, and those have different efficacy against enemies of different colors. Now, some of those are really hard to tell apart for a colorblind kid like me.
To me, yeah,
blue
looks green.
It's a really light cyan, isn't it? So it probably looks very similar to like the really neon green. So
green, yellow, and blue might as well be the same color for me. So I, every once in a while, I'll have to like call over to my spouse and say, "Hey, what color am I on right now?
Oh, no.
I really need to learn some healing skills right now."
Oh god, yeah. And like what's really annoying about it is like obviously characters like Vice and Ica and Fina, it's pretty easy to tell on those it's easier to tell on their weapons, and Enrique, who is the last party member who doesn't really make an appearance until next week, you can tell on their weapons because they're like blades or, small space blob or boomerang, and it's relatively easy to say. But like Drachma, about 50% of Drachma's weapons, the color is like hidden around the back, so you have to turn the camera. And then it's also like this tiny little bit, and I'm always just like even I'm like, come on, what is this? Like, and you can also tell by looking at a character's portrait. But again, because it's only like the outline, it's so difficult to tell at times. And Gilda's another one as well, because obviously it's just the barrel of his guns. And again, I can't see most of those because he likes holding them behind him. And I'm like, come on, it's like extra effort. I don't want to turn the camera just to like look at that. But I think it's a cool system, and yeah, the game doesn't do a great job of explaining the color system, or like, you know, the easiest thing they could have done is put different symbols on each of them or something like that. Especially on like Vice's swords, like you can literally see the entire blade, so why not just be like, green is the one circle? No, green would be two circles, so do it like, you know, 1 2 3 4 5 6, depending on how many symbols there are on the spell. But yeah, it's a pain in the backside, and some of the elemental opposites do not make sense to me at all. I have to look it up every time. Like yellow and silver I kind of get, because it's like light and I've been playing Final Fantasy and Pokemon for too long, so my brain immediately goes to logic, and I'm like, oh yeah, do you know what? Fire is good against ice, but ice is not good against fire. And then it's like, nope, they're both good against each other. And I'm like, wait, why? Like, why would that make sense? And things like wind and water being good against grass or vice versa. And yeah, it doesn't do a brilliant job of explaining that.
I kind of play it blind a lot of the time with that.
You don't need to do it. It's a bit of a boost, and obviously, like, the main reason you want to do it is to learn your magic spells, I would say. So as long as you're like balancing, like green magic is probably the most important, then red, then and then everybody learns magic at different rates as well. So like Ika's best at learning fire magic and green magic. Vice is really good at fire magic. Enrique's really good at yellow, and Fina's really good at silver, obviously. And good at all of them. Drachma's got the lowest growth rate because he doesn't really use magic too much. But yeah, you don't really need to engage in the system. It just makes things a tad easier, and especially if you like double art with an Incrim and stuff, it really helps, especially for those super bosses. That's where you do probably need to use it
Yeah.
a little bit more. But yeah, the combat's good. It's easy to get into a rhythm, and everybody hates loopers, am I right? Or I mean, I like them actually. I don't know why I'm asking that question. They're cute.
I hate them because they hit hard and you can't hit them, and the reward
the ones
isn't
that
even
run
that
away
good.
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
It's like a metal slime without the experience dump.
Right.
Exactly.
It's like a metal slime with all of the frustration and none of the reward.
You get bonus magic points though. You get
Not enough. Not that many.
That's true. You don't get like 100.
But they're also not as hard to kill, and they come up way more often. I get it. It's just annoying.
We're gonna sword them to death. That's what I do when you can do that every turn. That's a good way around it. But yeah, there's another aspect to combat which we'll touch on a little bit later. But obviously we've danced around all of the characters. We'll probably talk more about Gilda towards the end of today or the next episode, but really the core four that we have for most of this half are Vice, who is Dine's son. He wants to become a pirate and get his own ship. Ike is his best friend. Fina is this girl from a mysterious world or a mysterious place, and she doesn't really know culture. She's like, what's money? How do you pay for things? And she's like trying to get all the moon crystals. And then you've got Drachma, who's just a fisherman, with a metal arm, which is cool as hell. But yeah, what do we think of this like core cast at the moment?
I like them generally. I mean, Drachma's awesome.
Everybody loves Drachma.
I'm glad someone's on my side.
And I like Ike and Fina too. I'm curious about people's thoughts on Vice. No.
I want to get this too. Yeah, I mean, I like Vice a lot, and I like this, but there are things that he does, and I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, there's Valor. When you're at a Valor for the first time and you end up in the lower city, and he's like spouting nonsense to these poor kids. It's like, dude, have some self-awareness. Like, which I'd never really noticed until I'd sat down and watched Dak play, for the record. Like, and I was like, oh, geez, like, you're right, actually. Like,
yeah, I mean, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, I suppose, but like that whole sequence in Valor was just, I thought, just atrocious. Because like every single person in Valor doesn't talk about anything except for the fact that they're poor. I'm like, oh, it's a video game or fiction that like is defining people by the thing that sucks about their life. I know a lot of poor people in my life, and they generally don't talk about the fact that they're poor. So congratulations, game. You suck. But the bigger issue I had, honestly, was that like at some point some kid is talking to him. It's like your first crew member, I think, later. About like how like his like parents died or something. I don't remember exactly what it was, and like how like things are hard, and Vice is just like, I just like have like a positive attitude about it, and then everything's better.
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, thank you, Donald Trump. I mean, like, stop. Like, I was like, it was ridiculous to me. I mean, like the idea, like that Vice just walks through like this totally horrific area, and he's just like, a positive attitude will make everything better. I'm like, I have never heard some more pull yourself up by your bootstraps nonsense in a video game ever.
Thanks,
and
I'm
like,
cured.
Exactly.
It's pretty much
Thank you for
that.
telling me to have a better attitude about the fact that I have no money and I can't eat food.
Yeah.
So that was pretty horrific to me, but and he does it throughout the game. But I appreciate what the game is trying to do, at least in terms in what they're trying to do with Vice about the nature of optimism, and at the time in particular when like every protagonist was like an emo tryhard. Like I think that they did a nice job of attempting it, like something like more positive and a more positive spin, and it matches the tone of the game. Like the whole problem with the game in general is that it ignores why people suffer, and so that is a major issue for me. I appreciate that it's trying to be nice about it, but I think that it misses the mark in pretty offensive ways at times, and I think Valua is the most obvious example of that.
I would agree with that.
Sorry, I was not trying to just lecture everyone like a teacher.
No, you didn't at all. Like, it's really interesting that I didn't really ever consider any of that when like I said, it's been 6 years since I played it, and I didn't ever like that section. I was always a bit like, this is very obvious. Like, you want to like show the divide that badly that you just want to like throw in. Like, Aika's not even there, so like I feel like if Aika was there and she like maybe interjected, it would be a little bit better. She'd be like, not even, but like, yeah, I think it's heavy-handed about it for sure across the game, and that's like the most egregious part, I think. Just like telling some kid whose parents are dead, just like, it's all right, like, and I'm like, yeah, Vice, you know what, not the time, buddy, like, just have a moment. And yeah, I don't think the game is even that interested in showing you how people suffer. Do you know what I mean? Or like why, or like trying to think of it.
I mean, it uses it as a plot point.
Yeah.
Like it uses it as a counterpoint to like, here's what Vice is fighting against. And I get that. And I respect that. But it's the way it presents it is troubling.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Counterpoint. Vice has a cool blue shirt with impractical sleeves, and he holds one of his swords like a tonfa, and that's amazing.
And he has a glass eye patch that zooms in like a telescope. Like,
I mean, that's amazing, right?
Yeah, he has some cool things about him. It's weird because I have like an entire like essay on the site about like the optimism this game does, and some of those things that he says to Marco are some of the things I've quoted. And it's like when you take it out of context, like it sounds fine, but like when you put it back into the context, it's like, you can't really do that, Alana. Like, don't interpret it like that way. So like, it's interesting, and I kind of hate it for that. Like,
I, as a person who's read your essay, I think that when we're talking about the nature of the game, I still respect what it's trying to do. I mean, like we haven't talked about like the beginning sequence where I think the title of your essay comes from, where he's like on Pirate Isle and he's like seeing a sunset. And I think that you can certainly make an argument that that is an admirable way to see the world. And I think it is. And he's like also a kid. He's what, 17? I mean, like I teach these people, and like if they said that, I would be happy, right? They always hate everything.
There's no nuance or no care or consideration or no acknowledgement.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no acknowledgement of the fact that he doesn't know everything. Like his dad is like a great dude, and like he obviously had like a nice childhood based on that, at least what we know, right? Like it's hard for me to see that and not scoff, but like that's like one part of the game. You know what I mean? Like we're talking a lot about something that I don't like, but
no. It's interesting.
Yeah, it gave me some more to think about, actually.
But yeah, we can talk about Drachma then, because everyone likes Drachma here, right?
Yes.
I mean, Drachma's freaking great. It's nice to have a curmudgeonly old man along with your super optimistic group.
He's the total opposite of everything else, and he like gives I kind of wish he gave, and maybe I think it does play in a little bit later on for sure. Like Drachma gives like Vice and Ica a little bit, like reins them in a little bit and gives them a little bit more of a like pulling back. Like it feels like Drachma needs to be there. I think otherwise, I think it would probably get a little bit much.
He's a good balance.
He is a very good balance, and it's kind of sad. He's got like an entire backstory, which I know, Audrey, you're not quite there yet, but like after Ixataka, you find out some stuff about like why he's got the metal arm, and obviously Drachma is chasing after this big whale called Ragnar. Definitely Moby Dick style, I'm sure. But like he's very, very, very doggedly chasing after that, and then just kind of ends up helping you. But you do get a really nice cannon on the top of your ship for that.
I mean, I think that this whole game, and again, that's one of the reasons why I feel bad, like taking shots at the way that it deals with poor people in particular. But this whole game deals with tropes, right? And I think that Drachma is certainly a trope that we've seen 1,000 times, or on back to, the grumpy old man who has a heart of gold, right?
Right.
But I do think that they do a really good job of presenting him realistically. Like he leaves your party and comes back to your party, and leaves your party and comes back to your party. And I like the way that they use gameplay and like the nature of him coming and going to sort of make you feel who he is and what he's about. But yeah, I mean, I think that you talked earlier about your favorite trope being the honorable thief. Mine is definitely the grumpy old man with a heart of gold.
Yep.
Maybe because my students describe me that way all the time. But I just like the way that he's presented, and I like that he, towards the end of our cut point here, actually just leaves you to go pursue the thing. Like his obsession is still there, and he hits hard in combat, which I love. Give me a guy who hits like a truck, and I'm always going to be happy with that character. I think he's excellent, and his SP boosting move is just, mix that with Pirate's Wrath a little too early, and you break the game for a number of fights.
You really do.
There was a good tip.
Yeah, you really do. Yeah, it's the second super move, so you just need like 1 and 2 Moonberries to get there, so it should be pretty good to get. Yeah, Drachma's like entire story with his son is really well done, I think, and we'll go into it a bit more next week, I think, so I don't want to like spoil it. But yeah, the way he like comes and goes, I used to find that so annoying as a kid. I'm just like, come on, why don't you just stay? And now I'm just like, oh, there you go again. And like, it's kind of sad when he goes, because like obviously everyone's worried about him, and you'll get split up basically for reasons like you end up on an abandoned island, which is, we'll talk about that in a bit. And yeah, you don't know where he is, and whether you find him or not, I don't know. Maybe you do. Of course I know, but like, yeah, he just balances it out really well, and he's a real, like, amidst all of the other tropey characters, like, I feel like Drachma feels like the most realistically portrayed, for sure. I think he's fun. But I know we're darting around a little bit, so probably should move on. And I don't want to focus on Valor too much, apart from what the hell do they keep in their catacombs? For God's sake, like under the execution pit, this like gelatinous blob, and then like, I don't want to focus on that. But yeah, so we're gonna like power through a little bit. So obviously you go through Valor, you go for the upper city as well. And then you encounter Galcian, who is essentially the main antagonist of the game, the big bad, the kind of I have a big sword kind of thing. Follows you. You get to jump on top of a train to rescue Fina, because Fina's been kidnapped by the Valoran Armada at this point. Your Pirate Isle gets attacked while you're on Shrine Island, trying to get a moonstone to power up your ship. And a bunch of your crew, a bunch of your family get kidnapped, basically, or a bunch of the Albatross's crew and Fina. And Galcian in particular wants Fina because of who she is, and because she has knowledge of the moon crystals. And as it turns out, somebody else that was with Galcian knows who Fina is. You get her back, and she tells you her mission, and it's like, okay, we're going to go get the moon crystals. We're going to go and do that. And that's like Vice's opportunity to go like, right, I finally get to explore the world and discover the world. So the first half of the game has you get the green and the red, not in that order. You're going to get the red first. So you end up going to NASA, which is kind of the Middle East, I guess. And maybe we'll touch on more stereotypes and tropes here, because I feel sometimes this game's depiction of like races are a little bit troubling as well.
Yeah, they definitely go a bit broad.
Very broad indeed. Maramba is the first place you go to, and then Drachma leaves you here. You ride one of these like little camel beasts, which I think is really fun. And one of the things I really like about Skies, which I've kind of brushed over because we haven't really talked about Sailor's Island, is like every town feels like a little bit of a puzzle. Like there's always things hidden around. Like you've got treasure chests hidden in rooms. You've got like different ladders you can climb. This game really likes long ladders. It's definitely like near level of ladder in some capacity. And I like the way you can get on top of buildings and open different doors. In Maramba in particular, but like every town has got like a different like gimmick. So like Ixataka has got like all these different raised levels, which I get lost in Ixataka every time I go there. Like, I'm like, which ladder do I go up now? And where is Sentime? And where are the rest of the Blue Rogues? And where's the Chief's Hut? And where's the inn? But it's always really fun, especially when you go down the slide in Ixataka. But yeah, Maramba's really cool. It's a pretty small town, but you meet this dancer, and she, after being fawned at, obviously, because, you know, it's an anime style RPG, you can't not have like a teenage boy look at some girl and be like, ooh, it's a lady, and like, yeah, well done. Well done. But yeah, you end up going to a place called the Temple of Pirin to get the first moon crystal. And the reason you want to get the moon crystals is because Valor want to summon these things called the Gigas. And the Gigas are like these like giant weapons that were supposed to protect the world, but they ended up destroying it. So they called down the rains of destruction to like basically destroy everything, and they tore the land asunder basically. So you're going there to prevent that. But Pirin's a kind of fun dungeon, I think. This game is a bit hit and miss with its dungeon design. I think some are cool, some are really annoying. I think Pirin's on the right side of that.
Some would be cooler with lower encounter rates.
They would, yeah. Yeah, it's very Indiana Jones, which is, you know, again, you're plundering a temple kind of thing. Like, it definitely rests on its laurels. But yeah, it's pretty fun. Some of the bosses here can hit a little hard if you don't know what you're doing, but ice spells are definitely your friend.
The dungeon design in this game, I think in general, is fine. There are occasionally times where I'm like, and again, I hate to come back to a game that Wes and I played together recently. But I think about SMT3 with some regularity while playing this game for whatever reason, and I'm like, oh, it kind of reminds me of SMT3, except for I don't hate my life. Like there are like times in it where I'm like, oh, I could see like engaging in like normal puzzle design, and sometimes the puzzles are so straightforward. I'm like, all right, come on. Like there's one towards the end of our cut point that is like a puzzle dungeon, but it's like not really. Like, it's like I have to like press some things, and there's like two different characters. But I think overall, the dungeon design here is better than the vast majority of PS2, Dreamcast, GameCube era games.
I'm coming back to you on that question after a particular dungeon in part 2, like 1,000,000%. There's one dungeon there's two dungeons I really don't like in this game. One of them is Moonstone Mountain, which is in the first half of the game. I hate Moonstone Mountain. It's long. It's got that stupid look underneath the grates and see where you're going to drop. And also because my brain forgets the X and circle difference in Japanese media, you have to remember to walk over the ones with the cross, because that's all the ones with the circle, because you have to do, I can't remember what the riddle is, it's like what's wrong is wrong or what's right is right or something like that. But yeah, and then there's another dungeon in the second half of the game which I despise, maybe.
It cannot possibly be as bad as most of the Nocturne dungeons, I promise.
I don't know, maybe not.
What do you think, Wes?
Depends which one, which Nocturne you're talking about.
Okay. I do not know because I have not played Nocturne, so I cannot make that comparison. But there's water involved in this dungeon, so despise is a strong word, but I don't enjoy it. But yeah, I think Pirin's fine. I think the fun, and you've had dashes of this as we're getting, like, as we go get to Pirin, but the fun part comes when you leave the dungeon. You have the moon crystal, and lo and behold, you give the moon crystal to this dancer who turns out is one of the admirals of the Armada, and she summons the Gigas, Bellezza. And
I actually liked her.
She's cool, yeah. I
Yeah.
like Bellezza. I think Bellezza and one of the other admirals who you've seen, Gregorio, but you don't really get to interact with until slightly later. I think they're my two favorite generals in the Armada. They're certainly a little bit less tropey and a little bit less disgusting than the other ones, let's put it that way. But there's yeah, I really like her. There's things that I have problems with, but that'll be a next week thing as well. But yeah, so she summons the Gigas, and I guess now is a good time to talk about ship combat, because ship combat is super fun, so unique to this game. We've already had like a couple of fights up until this point, but like essentially you get like, there's no random encounters on ship combat. You've got like smaller boats that travel the air, and you can go towards them and fight them, and all your characters get experience. Or you get these big boss battles against the Gigas, which, surprise, we're going to be fighting most of them. And also the Armada and some other big ships, which are fun. But yeah, what does everyone think of ship combat?
I love it. I think it's great. I mean, like I occasionally wish that like I didn't have to watch so many animations of the ships flying back and forth around each other while the ship combat's happening. But like it gets back to that same idea of some of the normal combat. Like it's about focusing, it's about resource management, maybe even more than normal fights are. The only difference is that like you have like a super move that the game will tell you comes up on a certain turn. But I love that you have to think about how you're buffing yourself. I love that it's about like what's happening on different turns, and you can see what they can do, and you can see what you can do on different turns. And you know, like at this point, I feel like a lot of times like the super move just kind of ends the fight, and it's kind of all about like, do you have enough spirit points to do super move? And I think I wish it was a little more complicated than that, but I struggled with like this one in particular, as you saw, Alana, of like answering questions, because you have to answer questions halfway through, and like that will determine what your next moves are. And I think it's really fun. I don't think it's perfect, but I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I didn't do too great with that at first. Once I got the hang of the ship combat, I really liked it.
It takes a minute. Again, the game sort of explains it to you. I like the way the game explains it to you as well. Like the way that it's like teaching Vice how to steer the ship and man the cannons and stuff like that. I think like Drachma just being like, look, what do you think we should do, kind of thing, or we need to go for it, and things like that. Like it like captures their like impulse. It captures Vice's impulsiveness, and sometimes Drachma's like, no, you need to take a step back, kind of thing. But yeah,
I think it's maybe one of the more, if not the most interesting thing that the game does, is introducing ship combat, because it does definitely have its weaknesses. It feels like there's some guesswork sometimes. Those animations are interminable, but I can't think of many other series that like have a main component of gameplay that's not the normal like combat exploration loop, and that piece feels completely integrated. Like some Suikoden games do it well, and that's about it.
Like maybe a little bit Xenogears with the gear battles.
Oh yeah.
But that's the closest analog I can think of. But I don't know, like those Xenogears battles are so outside of the scope of what you really do in the rest of the game that I think this is much better.
Yeah,
like Satan is like broken in normal combat, but his gear is terrible, for example.
Heimdallr is terrible. You're correct. Yeah, which sucks because Satan's my favorite. But yeah, I digress. Yeah, and as well with Xenogears, like on disc 2, it is the only way you ever fight, really. So it's, whereas like as Skies, it's always like, you know, main combat's this, but you can also do this, and also there will be certain fights like this. And I think it's cool as well because it's got its like own equipment system as well. Like you have to go to a different shop to buy like gear for your ship. Essentially, I think it's like grease for your engines, something to polish your deck with, and something else, or like better decking and things like that. Like I think there's really creative things. You've got different types of cannons that use. You've got 2-inch
You
and
have
3-inch.
bombs and
Yeah, you've got bombs, you've got magic cannons, which you can't use magic until after you've beaten Beletza in the Lynx. And yeah, you've got normal cannons and torpedoes and the harpoon cannon, which, yeah, as you say, Zach, like, essentially every ship fight is like, okay, do I have enough to fire the Moonstone Cannon, which is the other name of the cannon that you get? And how much damage does it do? And it does a lot of damage, which is the same as the harpoon cannon. But I think in particular, like with the 2 Gigas fights you do in the first half of the game, which are Recumen, which is the red Gigas, and Grendel, the green Gigas, it really does a good job of like showing how small your little fishing boat is. Like, this like tiny wooden ship can take down armada ships, but like god beings, nah. Although it can take like punches. Like, is anyone like fascinated by like the punch that Grendel does to like yeet your ship across?
Like totally annihilates other ships, and your ship takes it, and it's just like fine.
It's incredible.
yeah, you have a lot of HP for the ship.
You do, yeah. And also you have like a lot of like items, again, are pretty easy to come by, like repair kits are everywhere. And they're cheap. Like, that's another thing. Like, items are so cheap in this game. As long as you're like picking up enough discoveries to get by, you're probably never going to run out of items at any point at all. But yeah, like the Recumen fight in particular, I think is really well done, because it really, you start shooting at it and your immediate impulse is like, oh my god, I'm not doing any damage. Is this an unwinnable fight? And then like, I certainly did that when I was a kid. I was like, do I have to lose this? And so I lost it, and I was like, no, I've got to win it. How do I win it? Yeah, it does a really good job of just like, you've just got to get all the enough questions right to survive long enough, basically.
Oh, I do love that you can actually retry the fights if you.
Yes.
The first time I lost the ship battle, I was like, oh no. And I was like, yes, thank God.
I think there is a save point right outside the temple, but I think I didn't use that at one point, and I totally forgot.
Yeah.
I think I got annoyed and like just when I was a kid and like turned off the game, and then was like, oh no, I've got to do like the worm fight again in the Pirin, and then go out and do that fight again. But yeah, I think that Recumen is a really interesting fight. Beleza's fight is good as well. Like, it can be hard because she does a lot of buffs. Like, her gimmick is that she uses magic cannons. Really interesting side of combat, and I think you get the more tools you get, the more fun it gets, but it does get easier as you go along. But there's certainly some interesting fights. But yeah, after NASA, you end up going to Ixataka, where you have to rescue some people, the chief, or the chief's like right-hand man, basically, from Moonstone Mountain, the prison. I hate this dungeon. I've already said that. I just like don't like looking down the grates. Like, I never bother with it, and then it's one of those things where you like look for walkthroughs, because I've played this game so many times. I'm like, I'm not gonna put effort into it, kind of thing. Like, I mean that in the nicest possible way, and I'm like, wait, nothing's telling me where I need to look. So I actually have to pay attention, which I think is a good idea. But like, one thing we haven't actually said is the controls are a little bit tank. They're a little bit tank controls, and the camera is worse than I remember it. Like, a lot worse than I remember it.
I mean, like, the C-stick is helpful, but it doesn't move as fast as I would like it to.
Yeah, I think that's the problem. And I think like I swap between like the L and the R buttons on the GameCube controller, but yeah, it's annoying.
Yeah, sadly, my old Wavebird is starting to die a little bit, so
No!
it made it even worse.
No.
Yeah, I feel like those are like the most durable controllers too, and the best controllers of all time, for the record. But yeah,
I've got to think I'm doing something wrong. I can't blame the Wavebird for this.
I was gonna say, yeah, I think my Wavebirds, one of them has got to be at least when it came out. Like, my GameCube is the same GameCube I bought when it came out, or my parents bought when it came out. I think my Wavebird is pretty similar. No, I can't let the Wavebird die. I've got to fix that somehow from thousands of miles away. Wes, you can't tell me this information and not let me do something about it. I'm like heartbroken. I love the Wavebird. It's the best. But yeah, not too much happens in Moonstone Mountain. It's another encounter with Alfonso and DeLoco. You get out. These two are kind of played for comedy, and I think like I've never really liked either of them. Like, Alfonso's like the posh boy and DeLoco is the mad scientist, but like it feels like a little bit heavy for me. I don't know.
A lot of Looney Tunes sound effects.
That is kind of funny, actually. I don't mind those. But yeah, it is a bit much. Especially because, like, you know, Deloco's literally burning down the forest, and it's just like, oh, okay. The Armada are like hit and miss for me. I like them generally. I like the idea behind them. Again, we'll address some of this like next week, but because we haven't really met all of them. Beleza's one of the better ones, Gregorio, and obviously the other one, Ramirez, yeah, who is like the sixth. He's cool, but he's definitely not Sephiroth, right? Like, I'm pretty sure they were trying to channel that energy there.
I mean, like, he doesn't show up with a big sword who's too difficult to beat in a burning place. No, that doesn't happen. No, that doesn't happen. No. For the record, I think he's pretty cool, but
he is very cool. He's definitely the kind of villain I loved as a kid. I was just like, nice. But yeah. So then you have to find. I think this is a really cool thing. So the game does a really good thing with discoveries narratively as well. Like, you discover Ixataka like the first time you fly there, which I think is also, it's cool, but it's also kind of funny because like Valor are already in Ixataka, so how can you have discovered it? Like, there's a couple of like weird situations like that. Like you get like a discovery for something else later on, which I'll pick on next time. But yeah, you do that, and then like to find the green crystal, you have to find these two discoveries which point towards the location of it, which I think is cool in practice. But it's a bit of a pain in the butt to find the place even after you've got the two discoveries. It's good though. I think it's interesting because it like plays into like, I don't know, like we've already said this, like stressed it, like the world feels just very, very adventurous, very involved, and very, it's very, it like makes you want to discover stuff. Like, I don't always want to do that, but yeah, I want to go like every inch of the map, basically.
I think it does a good job of rewarding you for them as well. I mean, like the rewards aren't enormous because there's like 88 discoveries in this game. But they're good enough that like it rewards you for it. And it feels good. Like, I feel like in a lot of ways, like Xenoblade understood what was delightful about discovering things about this game, and it took it, 10 years later, and it picked up on it and it used it. Because I can't think of a game before Xenoblade besides Skies that like rewards you for finding things the way that this game does.
Okay, I have to interject. Wes, when you saw the Xenoblade 2 revealed trailer, did you think it was going to be Skies of Arcadia?
I really wanted it to be. I saw the sky. I saw the... Oh
my goodness.
Yeah.
What?
Well, like when they announced it, because it was like a teaser, wasn't it, with the clouds? Like, I remember watching, I was specifically on the train back from uni, and I looked at my phone, and I was watching this trailer, and I was like, oh my god. I was like, is this a Skies remake? Oh, it's a Xenoblade game. Oh, that's cool. But also, it's not Skies kind of thing. Like, I was like...
I'll take it, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it was good. But, yeah. It was, yeah, I think there's a really interesting through line, which is why, like, if you're going to ask me, like, my two favorite world maps, and interestingly, I think these are, like, the two main worlds I picked for... We did an RPG World Tour episode in 2017. And the two worlds I picked, other than, well, I picked a bonus world as well, which was the El Nido Archipelago from Chrono Cross, but it was Arcadia, and it was the Bionis and Mechonis, because, yeah, it's just that idea of discovery and the rewards that you get from it. Like, there's nothing that makes me feel better than doing any of that, really. So,
do you fill the map on this game too, Alana? That's the real question, because there's no reward for it.
But I do. Of course I do. Of course I do. And actually, like, I think it's funny that you can fill in the maps in every dungeon as well. So, and I do that as well. I have to make this game interesting. There's another Steam achievement for you, Sega. Look, I'm just giving them to you at this point. Like, I'm going to have a little list. That'll just be my write-up at the end of this. It'll just be like a list of discoveries? You could call them discoveries! There you go. So, yeah. You go through the Lost City of Rixis, which, again, I think Rixis is cool, again. I think it's one of those fun dungeons. Wasn't really what I was expecting, and I like the fact that Aika's very disappointed that not only is it not this city made of gold, but it's also this haunted place, and she's terrified of ghosts, so it's like all of her worst things. It's not what she wants, but also it's like exactly what she doesn't want, kind of thing. Oh my god, I realize I can't believe I haven't talked about this. How have I not talked about Cupel yet?
You should be ashamed.
I am ashamed.
Aw.
But yeah, this is a
So
good
cute.
he is the best. Cupel is adorable. He makes very cute noises. I do miss having the VMU because you can find little things called chams which you feed him to level him up, and he changes weapons basically. Chams and abric chams. And there's like a whole weapon tree that you have to figure out. And he can turn into like a knife or a cone or a weight or a giant version of himself or a frying pan. There's like a number of different things he turns into, and they all come with some brilliant sound effects, and he's the best, and he's just super adorable. And yeah, I miss having him on my little VMU screen on my Dreamcast. That's the only thing that I don't like about the GameCube version.
I have not experienced that. He's very cute. I mean, like, I wish that the character who used him was more useful in combat, except for like it's like a punching bag that I have to make defend half the time in like difficult battles. And you know, Fina, who I think is a great character. We haven't talked about her much, but I think she's really interesting. But yeah, I mean, like he's adorable. He's adorable. It's brilliant. Like it's like I totally know how they marketed this. Exactly. I totally know how they marketed this in Japan.
Yeah, I don't know if there is a plushie. Certainly when I moved into my apartment, I got myself a keyring, and it's a custom made Cupel, and you could get it in one of 6 colors. So I got a purple one because purple's my favorite, and got a little Cupel on my. Well, he's not on there right now because he broke, but yeah, Rixis is kind of cool. The boss at the end of Rixis can be really hard if, again, you don't like. There's a lot of challenge if you don't know what you're doing, because like this boss can petrify you, and like petrification is like, you know, everyone's petrified, it's instant death, and put you to sleep. That's the other thing, and it'll just like beat you to death. And this is not one of like the kind of attack it does. I don't think wakes you up, if I remember rightly. I got lucky because, or I mean, I haven't redone this bit yet because obviously I've just watched it, and yeah, it used to decimate me, but now I'm just like, oh, I'll just Pirate's Wrath it or something like that, depending on if I've got any moonberries.
Gotta use the moonberries.
Gotta use those moonberries, and you get enough through the game anyway normally, but like they do drop. Not, I don't want to say semi-frequently. They're a rare drop, but if you haven't got my RNG, they're probably a pretty normal drop rate. So, you know, I think most people are probably luckier in video game drop rates than I am. But after Ixitaka, and you've been to Drachma, or you've got Drachma still, you fight another black pirate. So we'll touch on Baltor again next episode because we fought him earlier. The black pirates are not really much of a presence in this game, apart from being like the polar opposites of the blue rogues. Like the black pirates are exactly what you think they are. You know, think of, I mean, Baltor's ship is literally called the Blackbeard. So you fight another one called Gordo, who is just a black pirate who wants to like steal fish off your food off your ship and stuff like that. But then you get to Valor, which is, you think things are going to go normally, and then you try and get into the Yellow Crystal, and then Ragnum turns up, and then you get this like, you get Drachma's backstory. I think I will focus more on character stories a little bit more next week. And then your party gets split up. Ica and Fina end up together. They end up on Claudia's Clara's ship, which is, she's another blue rogue. She likes pink a lot. And you end up going to NASA.
How can you tell?
I know, right? She's definitely like this. God, they really want to like nail down the fact that she's in love with like Gilder, like, don't they? It's like, ugh. And then Gilder himself is a bit of a sleaze.
She likes pink and she likes Gilder.
Yep, it's definitely her personality. So they get taken to NASA, and you have to spend time making money to get a ship to try and meet up with Vice with Ica and Fina. And then Vice ends up on an abandoned island. Shall we talk about the abandoned island?
Shall we?
Oh, is this the gathering of wood?
It
is indeed the gathering of wood, Audra.
Not good.
It's not good at all. I actually don't have a problem with the idea of it, but I'm colorblind. and I know my colleague here, Wes, they are also colorblind.
Yes.
And the gathering of wood is basically impossible, except for just like randomly hitting A's, because like you can't see the difference. Like, because basically the idea is that like, as you were talking about, like you have to like find the wood to build a ship, and you are dropped into an area that mostly is like a forest. You have some caves, but then you have to find 5 pieces of wood in the middle of a green and brown, which 2 colors that sometimes as a colorblind person I have a great deal of difficulty distinguishing. But I think it's probably a pain no matter what. I would look at it and I could see that it was picked up, but like there's no way I could have identified it otherwise. And like you have to fight to get food earlier, and whether you get, that's the one time that I want the encounter rate to be higher. Like the Dreamcast encounter rate was probably excellent on that front, but I did not enjoy the section. I appreciated what they're trying to do, like slow us down a little bit, get us to really think about it. And it was not great.
I want to know if Wes feels similarly.
Oh yeah, I ended up looking up a Let's Play to find where all the wood is, and it still wasn't 100% accurate, but spent a lot of time running around pressing A, hoping for things to happen.
There is payoff with it, I promise, down the line, which, I mean, I don't know how much further you are, Zach, but it's not the last you'll be seeing of that island.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not in that capacity. It is a pain in the backside, as you alluded to. Like, even I can't see the wood. It's literally the same color as the floor, almost. And, like, the way that it piles up, it just kind of looks like a little bit of a mound. And it's like, I've walked around enough areas in Skies by this point. I've been playing it for like 15, 20 hours. I know what things look like. Do I, though, really? That's what the Abandoned Island is trying to teach me, I think, every time. Moonstones are easy to get. I agree on the encounter rate. I wish it was higher for the Garper fish. But yeah, it is a pain in the backside. And again, yeah, I agree. I get what it's trying to do, but also just like, it's another like it's trying to be video gamey in a way to try and tell a thing, and it's just probably not that effective. But it's okay because Vice gets rescued by a very cool looking ship, I think, and the best parrot in all video games.
I mean, low bar, but yes.
I mean, okay. I mean, that's
Can you give me some other parrots that are excellent in video games?
There's a parrot in Ease 8, I believe.
Okay.
He's okay.
There's a clockwork parrot in... I can't
yeah.
even pronounce the name now. I'm
Huan
afraid
Yan.
Yes.
Huan Yan.
They're pretty cool.
Yeah. I probably mispronounced that myself. But yes, I remember reading that now. There you go. Clockwork parrot is probably better. Can he pick locks? I think I just blindsided with that question. I was just like, oh.
He's a good distraction.
Okay, that's probably good enough. Yeah, Willie can definitely pick locks, and he's got goggles, and yeah, he's just cool. I love Willie a lot. Gilda as a kid, I used to love, and I still like him. I think he's very cool. So he's like the captain of the Claudia, which is a very cool looking ship. But Gilda likes booze and women. A bit too much.
I mean, he's very much a trope, but he's entertaining.
Oh, he is entertaining. He's great, and he might have my favorite super move actually. I really like Gunslinger. It's just stupidly stylish with like the intro music and the stupid phrases, and this game does like battle quotes really well. I really like battle callouts. It's definitely a 2000s RPG or a 90s RPG that's in the heart with those. But yeah. Well, I think I'm going to end it there for part 1 because I think it gives us a lot to talk about next week. And I know I've darted around a lot and talked a lot, and I'm very sorry. I still love this game, and we're gonna keep going. But does anyone I suppose anyone have any expectations for part 2? I suppose Zach or Audra so far.
I mean, I'm looking forward to more exploration. I feel like they've been giving us more things to explore with, and I think that it's my favorite part of the game. And I am excited about that.
Me too. I think I'm really looking forward to seeing where it'll take me next. And what happens to everyone, too.
Oh yeah, definitely. Wes, is there anything in particular that you really like in the second half of the game that you're excited to hear?
I'm trying to decide how spoilery it is, but you get to make some customization options in the back half that make me very happy, and I'm excited for.
No, definitely. There's some bits in there, like one of my favorite boss fights in any video game ever is in the second half of the game. It's just very cool, so I am very excited to hear about that. But yeah, I think that'll all about do it for us this week. Next week we're going to carry on with more Skies of Arcadia. We'll have a bit of a bumper session on it. I think we've got the whole second half of the game. We haven't touched the side quests. We haven't really touched too much of the story or the characters, so we're going to dive into a bit more of Fina, more of Ica, a little bit more of Gilda, and probably Enrique, and we'll go into Dragon. We'll talk about everyone. It's fine, and we'll get down to the bottom of things. Really, there's some very cool moments in the second half of the game that I'm really excited to talk about. So, yeah, I think that this game is great, and I think it does everything that I love. I love infinitely about it, and then there's like problems that I'm just like bury underneath all of the stuff that I love, and so it's more consistently good in the second half, I think, personally. So I'm really excited to talk about that. But Retro has also got a couple more episodes coming up. In February, we're going to be looking at Knights of the Old Republic, which is the classic BioWare RPG that really kind of put their name on the map. So I'm excited to hear about that. But otherwise, a lot of stuff is up in the air at the moment. We've just had an episode on non-RPGs, which I was on the very first version of that a couple of years ago. So I'm excited to go back and listen to this one that came out last week. But yeah, come back for more Skies next week. We're really excited to talk about it, and we made it happen. So I'll just keep riding that high for the next couple of days. But if you want to get in touch with us in the meantime, you can do by emailing us at retro@rpgfan.com. You can come and visit us on Facebook or Instagram. You can see our Twitter page, Discord, we're YouTube, and we're on Twitch as well, where we stream basically every single day. As I've mentioned, we've got 2 other podcasts. I've mentioned Random Encounter, which is hosted by John O'Logan, who will also be on those Knights of the Old Republic episodes. It talks about random topics, current events. Wes and I were on the most recent episode talking about the games of the year from 2021, so go and give that one a listen. We also have Rhythm Encounter, which is the RPG Fan music podcast that launches every other week with Random Encounter. So Random Encounter's one Monday, Rhythm's the next Monday, and so on and so forth. Last episode for that I was also on for Smash Bros music. So everyone's going to be getting sick and tired of listening to me on podcasts at the moment.
Oh, never.
And then Phoenix Edge, who I think are on a bit of a break at the moment, but their podcast is on YouTube and you can go and listen to those episodes whenever you want. But please leave us feedback on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, whatever you use to listen to us. We want to hear from you. We love feedback. And really, if you want to talk to any of us directly, where can you do that? Starting with you, Wes.
You can find me on Twitter at Wes Iliff. That's where pretty much everything goes.
Perfect. And Audra, what about you?
Audra B at rpgfan.com.
And Zach?
You can email me at zachw@rpgfan.com, or you can find me on Discord at zachw.
And if you want to reach me, you can find me on Twitter at Alana Hagues, or you can find me on the RPG Fan Discord as Alana. But next week you can find me on this podcast again, or if you're listening to them back to back, you can listen to me in a couple of minutes, I suppose, if you really want to do that. But if anyone's playing along, I really want to hear your thoughts about the game, because obviously I adore this game and I want to hear criticisms, everything about it, because I'm always excited to learn more things about this game and how people feel about it. So please reach out to us. But in the meantime, stay tuned for part 2, and we'll see you on the next episode. And until then, good night and good luck.